You're back with the Crow Bros, and today we're talking combat shotguns. We're at 9,000 feet and we're literally in the clouds today. It's a super foggy day on Crow Ranch, and we're talking the Stoeger M3000 combat shotgun. Brent, you are all in on this gun.
That's right. I can't wait to show you guys a new underappreciated shotgun that not many people have really heard of, which is surprising because it's been around for a long time. Let's go show you guys what this thing could do.
All right, M3000, Tex and Spec. Brent, break it down for us.
All right, let's break it down like a shotgun. All right, so we've got 18.5-inch barrel, semi-automatic, inertia-driven system based off the Benelli M2. A lot of those parts are actually compatible from each other. Let's see, we've got an oversized bolt and charging handle and bolt release, we're going to refer to it as. It is a 7+1 capacity, so 7 in the magazine tube, 1 in the chamber, or if you go slow, it'll be a +1+1, which allows you to actually put another round inside the carrier for a total of 9 rounds if you'd like. Let's see here, iron sights, ghost ring sights with a fiber optic front. Again, it is inertia driven, based off the Benelli M2, probably about a 7 to 8 pound trigger, cross bolt type safety. I really like these oversized controls on this thing. Another thing on this particular rifle is the highly adulterated loading port on this thing, which is just awesome.
It really is.
Just really is. You really got to get in there to appreciate how much they've really removed out of the material on this thing. Really aids for things like quad loading, double loading, single loading, whatever.
I gotta tell you, inertia driven shotguns, not the biggest fan. I mean, this thing just kicks. When I think about my Panzer over there or some of the other shotguns that we own, that we lost in that terrible boating accident.
Yeah, that's very unfortunate.
This thing, I mean, what do you think? Felt recoil 50% more? Would you?
Well, when I first got the rifle and put a couple of rounds through it initially, I was super excited about it until I actually felt the recoil. And it was terrible. The actual buttstock pad on the back, the recoil pad, is hard as a rock. It feels like they duct tape a brick on the end of the thing.
It is.
So the first thing I did is had to put a limb saver on the end of it just to have some flex in there, and that probably knocked down a good portion of that snap felt recoil on it. So now, at least today, as we're shooting this thing, it's not nearly as bad, but it's still definitely a thumper.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about what kind of loads we're using today?
All right, so today on the inertia-driven gun, this is straight out of the box, and they say that you need to run a couple hundred rounds of buckshot through this thing, or a high brass load. You can see the actual brass, or the casing bottom of it, the metal. This is going to be considered a low brass round. This is going to be considered a high brass round. Regardless of the velocity, this is going to be how much this drives the action. Obviously, on a semi-automatic, the type of ammunition is very important that you're shooting through this thing if you want it to run correctly. Once we go through that 200 round break-in with some high brass ammo or high velocity ammo, we should start being able to see us be able to run this hopefully pretty reliably. And I don't doubt that, especially the M3K version of this rifle, and otherwise you see a lot in 3-guns competition. So if the competition guys are running it, it's going to be a sound platform. Another great thing about it is it has a lot of aftermarket support. Like we said, it's based loosely off the Benelli M2 design, but a lot of those parts translate over. And not only that, but Stoeger, as you know, is owned by Benelli, which is owned by Beretta. So a lot of Benellis that you pick up off the rack, believe it or not, probably have 1 or 2 parts that were manufactured at the Stoeger facility. So they are interchangeable. A lot of guys like to do some upgrades, like the extractor on these. They say the heat treatment on there may not be as good as what Benelli and Beretta are doing. So a lot of people swap it right over for Beretta extractor. Benelli extractor.
How many rounds do you have through this particular weapon so far?
I'd be surprised. I think most of them we were shooting with birdshot, and they weren't running very well straight out of the box. So we probably got maybe 100 rounds through it right now.
How much a buck? How much a bird?
The majority of it was birdshot. I would say we've maybe got a box of buckshot through it, and probably 2 or 3 boxes of birdshot through it already.
Let's go on some buck.
Okay, let's see how it does.
We're going to use Black Ace's Atlantic Firearm Special, cheapest buck that you can get your hands on. ironically, had a lot of luck with these rounds. 14.25 feet per second. You want to say anything about the rounds?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, on the what we're trying to look at here is like a comparison to like a 1301 or the A300 Duty. Those guns, especially the A300 Duty, is rated to run that federal flight control stuff straight out of the box. That's what it's designed to run. So something like this should absolutely run a high brass double-aught buck at 14.25. So let's see how it does. You know what time it is?
Load up montage. Load up montage. This is just not going to. Load up montage. Load up montage. Brent is not here right now. I fucking hate this gun. It hits me like my mom used to when I would say swear words. My shoulder hurts. I don't like... Hey, what's up?
Big gulp, son. Okay, well, see you later.
So Brent, earlier I was saying, hey, you know, when are we going to be able to get target loads through this? And you were like, Adam, why would you need to get target loads through this? This is not a skeet gun, even though that's what we were trying to do. You know, it's fun to shoot trap with it, but there's no reason to get anything but buck or slugs through this thing.
That's right. I'm not particularly concerned if it will run it or not. I can still hand and individually feed those things in a survival situation, that kind of thing. It'll fire it, it just won't cycle it. But I mean, the A300 was originally designed from Beretta to fire buckshot and that federal flight control buckshot. I mean, that's what it's supposed to shoot. And this, being an 18.5-inch barrel, no choke, 7-round magazine combat shotgun, it's meant to be 50 yards or 50 meters or less. You know, it's, you know, I don't need to be able to run first shot through it. I need to be able to run buck reliably, slug reliably, that kind of stuff just needs to happen. And this is doing that. So I'm super happy with it.
All right, tons of fun, but you know, there is a known issue with this weapon. And we kind of ran into it today. Why don't you tell TV Land about that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. And I wasn't surprised at all to see this. I've read about it on a few different forums and websites about the bolt that goes through the buttstock into the lower or into the receiver that keeps everything tight. It's loosened up. It's backed up after a few hundred rounds of buckshot. It hasn't fallen apart. It hasn't had a catastrophic failure or anything like that. I was still firing the weapon while it was loose like this, but it was expected. Remove 2 screws. Take off the recoil butt pad dealio, get a nice long deep well socket in there and get on that bolt and it'll tighten back up. Also, this does come with some shim kits to change your impact up or down a little bit for each individual shooter. So this is probably the time, if you're going to tighten that stuff up and get all those tools out, to look at patterning it and looking at raising and lowering it with those shims at the same time.
Stoeger owners, if you've got one of these and you ran into that, or if you haven't, would you mind just making a quick comment on the bottom so we can see what your thoughts were on that, and also if there was any other known issues that we're just kind of not seeing today. I'm delighted. You know, other than this one little known issue, pretty awesome.
So I definitely wanted to take a moment. We actually bought a little budget-minded semi-auto 12 gauge from SDS Imports, what is it? What is this thing? AR-TO2 12 gauge 3-inch. Semi-automatic. I had only put a few boxes through this thing before we had a major catastrophic failure. The actual magazine tube that threads into the into the receiver literally broke.
How long is the warranty on this thing?
Oh, the good part about that is it's a 12-month limited manufacturer warranty.
And how long did you own it when it blew
I've
up?
actually had it for just over a year and a half, probably.
Awesome.
So it's out of warranty. Pretty much a fucking paperweight at this point.
SDS, help us out, guys. You know, hook us back up. We'll be glad to send this back to you.
So anybody that says, hey, turkey shotguns are all the rage, don't think that I'm on the bandwagon, because when you're at the range shooting this stuff, I didn't even get it to, we were just doing the cannon video with this thing and had a few rounds through it before we had a complete failure. Total piece of shit. So some turkey guns suck. But that brings us back to the Stoeger M3000. This is also made in Turkey, but it's also licensed through Benelli and owned by Beretta as well. The quality control on this is much higher. Quality of parts, M2 inertia system, just a better overall weapon. So we do have a little bit of loosening of the stock, but I've got way more rounds of high-powered buckshot through this than this ever made. And if this is the only issue I've got, I can tighten that up. So I'd be interested to do a long-term review with this in the future. Let's get some more rounds through it, see if it'll eventually start running some lighter loads, lower velocity stuff.
I mean, come on. I love my Turkish shotgun. This is the Panzer Arms BP-12. How many times have we played with this thing? It shoots, it fires everything. It's very consistent. So I believe in turkey guns, and I'm going to keep on buying guns made in Turkey. So.
Well, we've got 3 examples of turkey guns right here. We've got one that's complete failure, one that hasn't failed yet, and another one that's kind of failing, but we'll put it tightened up and we'll give you a long-term review on that as well. I've also had a few viewers request, what was that, the Panzer Arms M4. So I think we might try to do a review on one of those, get one of those in our hot little hands and see what that thing's all about. I've heard good things about the quality control coming out of Panzer recently. I heard they just revamped their stuff and we're able to follow and track where all they're sourcing all their materials and things like that. So I'm definitely interested in getting into that a little further and seeing if that holds any truth, or if that is what everybody's saying it is.
You guys, we have a Patreon account. If you want to see us shoot anything and you'd like to sponsor it, please stop by the Patreon and tell us whatever you want us to fire. If you want to pay for it, we'll be glad to fire it. So,
hell yeah.
That's going to do it for us here at the Crow Ranch. I'm Adam.
I'm Brent.
And this is our fearless cameraman, Pat. We're the Crow Bros. Like, share, subscribe. Stop by the Patreon account. Hint, you would be our first Patreon subscriber ever.
Yeah, it's like strippers hitting the pole and people are throwing dollar bills at you.
Oh my gosh, if we got $1, that would be super cool. So please, somebody send us $1. That'd be so fun. Just to say that we made money off of YouTube. All right, you guys, we'll catch you next time. Thanks.
Action.
No, not action.
How's it going over here, Mortarman?
Well, it's a very fun thing to do. You just sort of load up. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Do-All Playhawk 300. This is a Sportsman Warehouse special at only $84.95. Call now. So there is quite the aftermarket for this. This charging handle, for instance, you can go right. God damn it! I was just trying to do a fucking review. Halt! I'm Brent. I can quad load.
Go. Come back.
Collaborate and listen. Adam's back with a brand new edition. Dance. Get a hold of me tightly. So 3 and 3. Ready?
No, just 2 and 2.
That's it.
You're gonna put a little bit of movie magic of Adam in there. And what the fuck do you want, Patrick? We're in the business. We're talking about something. We're making business. We're doing deals. We're trying to make something happen today.
You got your Busey's cup today too, Adam?
I do. He's Busey's right here, buddy.
So the high-vis side is not as bright as I'd like it to be, and the stock is definitely starting to loosen up. God damn it, Adam!